dismantle this thought that it's too late.
Yes.
Because I think that I'm a millennial, and like millennial women were really set up for the okie doke because they told us from when we were little, don't depend on anybody. Make sure you get your own. Always be independent. Go to college. Get an education. Don't have a don't put a man before your, like, we were hammered. The messaging was go to college, have something that you can stand on, and then think about a man and a baby. And a lot of us did that, and what that did was it made us older, entering motherhood. Our age, we started thinking about making a family later, and then I feel like we just got shamed on the back end, and we were like, wait a minute, but I thought this is what we were supposed to
do. That's so true.
We're gonna get into it. Focus on your career, be independent, and don't rush. Don't rush. You got time. Let's go ahead and open it up for discussion. Let me get a lady to start off first. One of the ladies want to go first.
I'll go first. I think it's true. Extremely true. That's always what we were taught. Go to college, get your education, focus on your career, make sure you can take care of yourself. You got to be independent. You got to live this life, and then you get older and you realize, like, well, dang, maybe you should have been. Then people tell you why you ain't got a husband. You should have already had a baby by now. You already passed the prime in your life to, find somebody. Or now your value market done went down. Like, it's extremely true what she's saying. For a lot of millennial women, that's how we were raised. You had to take care of yourself. And I think it's because in our society, we were raised by a lot of single mothers who had to learn to take care of themselves. So they wanted to prepare us early for that reality because that was their reality, instead of actually preparing us for what they would have wanted or what would have made our life easier, right? So, I mean, I think it was just more of a defense mechanism to make sure that we were going to survive regardless of what happened to us throughout life. But I think it was true.
All right. Ms. Kelly, you want to say something?
I was definitely raised by strong women. I was definitely told to, be able to provide for myself, take care of myself, don't count on anybody else, yada, yada, yada. A lot of women in my family were married, had businesses, had families too. I personally don't have any children currently. But a lot of the reason why I think I don't is because as I grew up, that's all I heard, in high school. You better not bring no babies home. And so, everything I heard kind of terrified me. So by the time I became an actual adult, my mom would say, well, when are you going to have babies? And I'm like, well, I thought I wasn't supposed to, but it's the truth. I mean, I think some parents raise their daughters like that. And I think some parents raise their daughters different. I think it depends on, your household. Because I do have friends that, graduated high school, got married, and had a family. So I think everything is different. It just depends on your upbringing. So that's a fact. The statement that she made is a fact for some.
All right. I did hear something that was said. If women are being taught that, then why are the men shaming them if they are quote unquote doing it correctly, Jim? Well, not correct.
Because they're being taught that by other women. And it's independent women, not.
I mean, it's really more women who are leading that conversation than men are. You know what I'm saying? That like everything that they have talked about and just shared, even the woman in the video, they talked that from the perspective of receiving that message from a woman. It wasn't a man. You know what I'm saying? I even question where is the father even in that equation. But based on that video and, based on a little bit on the share that everybody presented, you could really tell the people who were raised on survival and the people who were raised on love. There's a huge difference between people who were raised on survival and the people who were raised on love. And I say that because I reflect back on my upbringing, and I reflect up on a lot of the things that I've heard. And although it is the same, a lot of it's the same, right? Even from, the women in my side of the family, the girls, it was the same, but I think it was less about fear mongering, and I think it was more about like responsibilities. One thing that was always talked about was like responsibilities. It was always talked about, understanding, once you cross that, make an adult decision, you are an adult, right? And sort of, you need to protect yourself, you need to safeguard yourself, you need to understand these things that happen, you need to talk to us, communicate with us. That was one thing that was very big. It was communication. You know what I'm saying? Being transparent. There wasn't this like, you know, imaginary kind of fictitious kind of story. It was always like the cold hard truth. And sometimes you need to, excuse me, sometimes you need to have the uncomfortable truth. And I think that that right there just wakens a lot of people. But unfortunately, to the response to the woman in the video, you know, that's really a sad feat, because I think that the cultural teaching needs to kind of be adjusted, because unfortunately a lot of people outside of our demographic are not taught that, or are not told that. They're told, protect yourself, a child by anybody, right? Do not prioritize just being a single mother, but focus on yourself, focus on your education, and then find somebody who you align with based on the values that we've instilled in you, you know, family, religion, culture, etc., right? And marry that person. Establish a family with that person, right? It wasn't like separate yourself and then get to a certain point where you think you're great and then find somebody. I think it was more about, ensuring you protect yourself and adhere to certain responsibilities to make sure that you don't ruin your life. Are you?
All right. Go ahead.
I agree. I think that it is cultural because when I was in college, I had never heard of an MRS degree. They kept saying, she's here to get an MRS degree. And I'm like, what does that mean? And I went to Baylor and Waco. So it's predominantly, white. And they were like, just to find a husband. Like they literally went to college to find their husband. We are going to college to get a degree, we on scholarships, getting financial aid, we don't, they literally, I know a few girls who like went to college, found their husbands like in college, and that's why they went to college. And I was just there to get my grades. So I just think that I never even thought that in my mind, but their moms sent them to college to get MRS degrees, so to become somebody's wife. And, they get married.
Yeah, it's definitely different with different cultures, I believe. And I think, parents just teach you what they know. They just teach you, they do their best. I think my parents did a fairly good job with me, but every parent is different. And I think the people that pressure some of the women, why aren't you married? Why don't you have kids? Those are just people who grew up in certain type of households. And that's what they saw. They saw, their parents be married and have kids or whatever. So that's the cycle that they know. So they put that on every woman that they know because they don't know anything different.